Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. New York's JFK Airport buzzed with life. Bright screens flashed, suitcases rolled along conveyor belts, and the din of announcements created a frenetic rhythm. Through the chaos, Vanessa Harper moved with quiet confidence. Her black pumps clicked softly on the polished floor, and her crisp navy suit hinted at her sense of style and precision. Vanessa was more than just a passenger, she was a formidable businesswoman, known for her bold decisions and strategic flair in the world of finance. But today, she wasn't here on business, she was about to board a first-class flight with Global Sky Airlines, a company she knew better than anyone, even some of her own employees. As she calmly handed her ticket to Bradley Mitchell, the cabin steward, a flash of arrogance crossed his face. "This seat is not for you, ma'am," he snapped, ignoring Vanessa's surprised look. Vanessa smiled slightly, pulling out all her documents, ready to prove her legitimacy. But Bradley, imbued with his fleeting power, wouldn't listen. "I'm asking you to get off, now," he shouted, attracting the attention of the surrounding passengers. Before Vanessa could reply, two security guards grabbed her, pulling her toward the exit. Passengers murmured, some filming. In the confusion, Vanessa remained surprisingly calm, her impassive face betraying an inner storm. What no one yet knew, not even Bradley, was that the woman they were humiliating was the company's largest shareholder. And with a single move, she could turn that humiliation into a revenge that would shake Global Sky Airlines and cost it billions of dollars. The story had barely begun. Vanessa Harper was escorted off the plane as the passengers watched in amazement. The murmurs quickly turned into shouts of protest. Some tried to film the scene with their phones, others watched in shock, while Bradley Mitchell smirked, convinced he had asserted his authority. "This is outrageous," shouted a man in a suit, a visibly outraged investor. "You can't treat someone like that." Vanessa held her head high and showed no emotion betraying her anger. Her eyes shone with a mixture of determination and control. She knew exactly what she was doing, remaining calm, letting Bradley and the security guards' arrogance speak for itself, while sowing the seeds of their future disaster. Outside, the crisp New York air didn't ease her frustration. But Vanessa wasn't one to react impulsively. She pulled out her phone and began discreetly recording videos of the shocked passengers, knowing the evidence would come in handy later. Social media quickly ignited. The hashtags #expelled4no-reason and #racism-on-board began to circulate. Within hours, the video of Bradley's humiliating expulsion went viral. Messages of support poured in, from colleagues, friends, and even strangers outraged by this injustice. Amid the media uproar, Vanessa remained calm. She knew this humiliation was only the beginning. Her strategic mind immediately kicked into gear. Every mocking smile, every offhand comment from Bradley was a mistake that would be paid for 100-fold. What Bradley had no idea was that the woman he'd just humiliated was the person who could bring down the company he worked for. And that even as he laughed at her supposed power, Vanessa was already plotting her revenge, ready to turn this humiliation into a move that would cost Global Sky Airlines billions of dollars. After the incident at the airport, Vanessa Harper returned to her elegant Manhattan apartment. The view of the East River was peaceful, but her mind was racing. Sitting at her mahogany desk, she carefully placed her purse and pulled out her state-of-the-art laptop. To the average person, Vanessa was just a passenger who had suffered an unfair humiliation. But to those familiar with the world of business and finance, she was the majority shareholder of Global Sky Airlines, holding more than 30% of the company's shares. With just one pull of the right lever, she could shake the company's management to its very foundations. She consulted her files, partnership contracts, current investments, strategic alliances with other airlines. Every figure, every financial detail was a potential weapon. She smiled slightly at the thought of Bradley Mitchell, the man who had humiliated her. He was completely ignorant of her position, believing he was imposing his authority over a mere passenger. Vanessa called on her legal and financial teams. "We're going to turn this humiliation into a lesson," she said calmly, her piercing gaze piercing through the video conference screen. This company has been too arrogant. It's time they realized that no one is insignificant. His plan was clear: use the incident's virality to create public pressure, trigger a media crisis, and subtly manipulate the stock market to inflict astronomical costs on the company. Every decision would be strategic, every move calculated. Meanwhile, the media was beginning to pick up on the video's virality. Articles were reporting on "Black passenger humiliated in first class" and "Mid-flight racist incident." Vanessa knew the world was already watching, and every mention in the press strengthened her position for what came next. In the silence of her office, she took a deep breath. Revenge wasn't motivated by anger, but by justice and strategy. And what Bradley and the leadership of Global Sky Airlines would soon discover was that beneath her outward calm lay a force capable of changing the company's fortunes in a matter of weeks. The next morning, Vanessa Harper was already in full swing. From her bright office overlooking Manhattan, she coordinated every move with surgical precision. Her legal team was reviewing contracts, her finance team was analyzing the company's weaknesses, and her communications consultant was preparing a sweeping media strategy. She began by exploiting the incident's virality. Carefully crafted press releases were sent to major media outlets: "Major shareholder humiliated in first class, airline faces its mistakes, the story of in-flight injustice." Social media became even more heated, and the hashtags #JusticeForVanessa and #ExpelledInFirstClass went viral within hours. But Vanessa didn't rely solely on public pressure. She launched a discreet audit of the company, targeting strategic contracts, international partnerships, and financial flows. Each document revealed exploitable flaws. She contacted her allies at other companies and foundations, subtly disrupting Global Sky Airlines' ongoing projects. At the same time, Vanessa planned her stock market attack. She knew that public perception could influence investor confidence. By disseminating articles and financial analyses highlighting the company's risks and mismanagement, she gradually caused panic among shareholders and partners. The value of Global Sky Airlines shares slowly began to plummet. Bradley Mitchell, the flight attendant who had humiliated her, began to feel the first tremors. Anonymous calls from journalists demanded an explanation, and articles detailed his conduct with scathing comments. His name was now circulating in the media as the man responsible for a massive public humiliation. Vanessa, however, remained impassive. Every action was calculated, every move weighed. Her revenge wasn't an impulsive reaction but a demonstration of power, a clear signal: underestimating someone is never without consequences. As the sun set over Manhattan, Vanessa looked up from her files and gazed at the skyline. The battle had begun. Global Sky Airlines had yet to see what it was capable of. And in the shadows, Bradley would soon discover that yesterday's humiliation would cost his company billions. Television screens and online news feeds were saturated with the video of Vanessa Harper's deportation. Every newspaper, news site, and social media platform recounted the scene humiliating Bradley Mitchell and Global Sky Airlines' arrogant attitude. Comments poured in, mixing outrage, anger, and support for Vanessa. The company responded, but too late and clumsily. A hastily issued statement offered a vague apology for the regrettable incident, while attempting to downplay the seriousness of the situation. The media, sensing an opportunity, denounced the inconsistency and inadequacy of this response. The headlines were unequivocal: an airline humiliating its own shareholder, racism in first class, Global Sky Airlines in turmoil. Vanessa watched everything from her desk, a faint smile on her face. Every mistake the company made, every communication blunder, was a piece of the puzzle of her revenge. She knew that public perception could be more powerful than any contract or financial manipulation. At the same time, she intensified her behind-the-scenes maneuvers. Influential investors, alerted by the viral nature of the incident and Vanessa's media influence, began to withdraw from certain of the company's projects. Strategic partners, fearing the impact on their image, were now hesitant to do business with Global Sky Airlines. Bradley Mitchell, on the other hand, was now the target of everyone's scrutiny. Journalists questioned him about his behavior, his former colleagues divulged anecdotes about his arrogance and unprofessionalism. He was slowly realizing that what he had considered a simple incident would destroy his career. Vanessa, meanwhile, remained calm. The company was agitated, panicked, but every misstep was just another step closer to the massive loss that would hit them. Her plan was unfolding as expected. She was letting the public chaos escalate while preparing for the next phase, when the direct financial repercussions would hit the company. The whole world was watching, but no one had yet grasped the scale of what was unfolding. Vanessa Harper wasn't just a victim of humiliation, she had become the architect of the storm that would cost Global Sky Airlines billions. Bradley Mitchell never imagined his impulsive action would have such far-reaching consequences. Every morning, he turned on his phone, and he discovered new articles, tweets, and videos denouncing his arrogance and the humiliation of Vanessa Harper. The hashtags #ExpelledInFirstClass and #JusticeForVanessa were everywhere, and his once pristine reputation was deteriorating at a dizzying pace. Panic was setting in at Global Sky Airlines. Senior executives were frantically consulting to understand how a first-class incident had escalated to such proportions. Investors were asking pressing questions, partners were delaying contract signings, and shareholders were threatening to sell their shares en masse. Bradley was now the perfect scapegoat, the face of human error and institutional racism. Vanessa, on the other hand, remained in the shadows, perfectly calm. She knew that the media attention was a powerful lever, and every article, every comment, worked in her favor. But she didn't stop there. She had prepared a plan to exploit the company's vulnerability and strike where the financial pain would be greatest. She began by discreetly contacting influential investors and strategic partners, revealing strategic information about the company and the mismanagement of certain contracts. The rumors turned into concrete concerns, and the value of Global Sky Airlines shares began to fall significantly. Bradley, isolated and overwhelmed, was beginning to sense the gravity of the situation. The incessant calls from the media, the angry emails from colleagues, and the public criticism were impossible to ignore. His former arrogance was now his prison. In her office, Vanessa watched the shareholders and executives move. Every panic, every hesitation, every misstep the company made strengthened its position. She knew exactly how to turn a personal humiliation into a costly and public lesson. And while Bradley and management desperately tried to limit the damage, Vanessa was preparing the next phase, the direct attack on Global Sky Airlines' financial structure, the one that would cost the company billions and show the world that no humiliation is without consequences. Panic was escalating at Global Sky Airlines. Executives, overwhelmed by public outrage and plummeting stock prices, were making hasty and ill-calculated decisions. They tried to calm the storm with more excuses and promises of internal changes, but each clumsy statement was only further evidence of their inability to manage the situation. Meanwhile, Vanessa Harper was moving her pawns forward with surgical precision. She launched coordinated actions. She subtly leaked some information financial on the company's failings, pushing the investors to doubt the stability of the company. It delayed some key strategic agreements, creating tensions with international partners. She discreetly mobilized her contacts in the world of finance to sell certain shares at the most critical moment, accelerating the fall in stock market value. Billions were beginning to disappear before the executives' eyes. Every rash decision they made to save the company worked exactly in Vanessa's favor. Tensions escalated further when press reports detailed the financial losses, now estimated in the billions, and Bradley's unwitting involvement in the initial incident. Bradley Mitchell, overwhelmed, finally realized that his arrogance and reckless behavior had paved the way for this catastrophe. He watched helplessly as the numbers rolled onto the screens in his office, unable to correct the disaster he had helped to cause. Vanessa, always calm, followed every move with satisfaction. What she had predicted since the day of her humiliation was unfolding perfectly. The company was collapsing under the weight of her own arrogance and management errors, and she hadn't lifted a finger in public. At Global Sky Airlines headquarters, the anxiety was palpable. Shareholders were demanding accountability, partners were threatening to break contracts, and the company's reputation was now permanently tarnished. Vanessa, standing back, smiled gently. Every clumsy move the company made was just another step closer to the $15 billion loss she had predicted. Global Sky Airlines management was now on the brink of chaos. Financial losses were reaching historic highs, and each previous panicked decision only made the situation worse. Furious shareholders were threatening legal action and demanding immediate replacements on the board. Bradley Mitchell, for his part, had become a public symbol of arrogance and incompetence. Social media relentlessly hounded him. Every appearance, every interview, every attempt at justification backfired, amplifying the public's shame and anger. Meanwhile, Vanessa Harper stood back, watching the storm she had orchestrated with Olympian calm. She had used the humiliation not only as a financial weapon, but also as a media tool to show the world the weight of the company's mistakes and the fragility of those who believed they could crush it. In the boardrooms of Global Sky Airlines, executives finally realized the gravity of the situation. Massive apologies were issued, reorganizations announced, but it was too late. The company's reputation was permanently tarnished, and its finances deeply impacted. Vanessa, for her part, had just taught a powerful lesson: underestimating someone is never without consequences. Every gesture, every word, every mocking smile had been counted and used to her advantage. She had transformed a public humiliation into a strategic lever, reminding everyone that patience and precision can reverse the most disadvantageous situations. And as the dust settled on the media and social media, one truth became clear: Vanessa Harper was not just a victim, she was a force of nature, capable of transforming a simple injustice into a resounding victory. Within weeks of the incident, Vanessa Harper had become an iconic figure of resilience and strategic power. Media outlets around the world celebrated her composure and her ability to turn a humiliation into a monumental victory. Articles detailed her mastery of the situation, the precision of her financial maneuvering, and the dramatic impact on Global Sky Airlines. In her office overlooking Manhattan, Vanessa watched the city glitter in the evening lights. Congratulatory calls poured in. Investors, business executives, friends, and even former rivals praised her intelligence and boldness. Each message reinforced the legitimacy of her plan and the recognition of her influence. Bradley Mitchell, meanwhile, had become the poster boy for arrogance and incompetence. His career was in ruins, and now he had to face the reality: he had underestimated Vanessa, and the whole world knew it. His name remained associated with public shame, and he was unable to repair the damage to his reputation. Vanessa, for her part, felt neither gratuitous vengeance nor hatred. Her goal had never been to destroy personal lives, but to rebalance power and show that injustice is never without consequences. She had proven that patience, strategy, and self-control could transform a disadvantageous situation into a resounding display of strength. Investors were regaining confidence in her decisions, admiring her ability to navigate the turbulent waters of finance and media. Global Sky Airlines, now partially under Vanessa's control, had to reinvent itself, correct its flaws, and learn to respect voices that previously seemed insignificant. At the height of her success, Vanessa looked up at the illuminated skyline. The storm she had orchestrated had not only taught the company a lesson, but had also inspired thousands of people around the world. No humiliation, no injustice is insurmountable if you know how to transform it into power. A few weeks after the media storm, Bradley Mitchell found himself in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Interviews and articles continued to highlight his arrogant behavior, his poor judgment, and the public humiliation of Vanessa Harper. Every attempt at an apology seemed superficial and only served to worsen his reputation. The situation at Global Sky Airlines management was critical. Shareholders were demanding accountability, partners were threatening to terminate contracts, and the company was under constant legal and media pressure. The financial impact of the crisis had now reached $15 billion, a direct result of the incident and Vanessa's strategic maneuvers. Bradley, once self-assured, finally understood the extent of his responsibility. He had believed he was exercising his authority without consequences, but now he found himself isolated and discredited. Every decision he had made out of arrogance or negligence had contributed to this monumental disaster. Meanwhile, Vanessa remained in control of the situation. She wasn't seeking personal revenge, her strategy was intended to teach a lesson in respect, prudence, and justice. By orchestrating this public and financial defeat, she had shown that underestimation and arrogance could be extremely costly. Bradley had to face the truth: he wasn't just facing the wrath of an outraged public, but a woman capable of transforming humiliation into a display of power and total control. The man who had believed him inferior now had control over his professional destiny. Vanessa, watching from her office, knew that this final confrontation was the ultimate confirmation of her victory. Not only had she reclaimed her honor, but she had also demonstrated to the world the power of patience, strategy, and intelligence in the face of injustice. Within months of the incident, Vanessa Harper had become a global symbol of resilience and strategic power. The media continued to tell her story, no longer as a mere victim, but as a woman who had transformed humiliation into a stunning display of mastery and intelligence. Global Sky Airlines had undergone a complete upheaval. The company had been reorganized under Vanessa's influence. Executives had learned to respect those they once underestimated, and discriminatory and arrogant protocols had been permanently overhauled. Bradley Mitchell had left the company, his name associated with arrogance and incompetence, a permanent lesson for all. Vanessa, for her part, continued her business with serenity. Her success wasn't just financial, it was also symbolic. She had shown that patience, strategy, and calm could transform injustice into total victory. Her story inspired thousands of people around the world, especially those facing humiliation or discrimination. Sitting in her office overlooking Manhattan, Vanessa looked up at the sunset. Every decision she had made, every calculated move, had built a path to triumph. The humiliation she had suffered was now legend, transformed into a universal lesson. No injustice is irreversible if we know how to use it with intelligence and determination. And so, Vanessa Harper began a new chapter in her life, not only as an influential shareholder and brilliant businesswoman, but also as a symbol of justice, resilience, and power. The storm she had weathered had left behind a world more attentive, more respectful, and, above all, aware that underestimating someone could be very costly.